Thanks for being back. Bitcoin was a means of payment. And
You also just come,
banking. Right? Here we are, over a decade later. A lot has happened.
Is it working?
Let's start with a quick introduction, please.
Okay.
Go on.
So I think I have to say good morning, still morning. So everyone, so my name is Sam. So I'm the managing director of the Krungsri Finnovate, which is the corporate venture capital arm of the Krungsri Bank. If you see the yellow bag in Thailand, so it's a Krungsri. So we are under the Mitsubishi Financial Group of a leading bank in Japan. And I have been in banking industries over 20 years, and the last 10 years looking after the innovation and fintech. So Krungsri Finnovate has been established for 7 years, and now we have been investing for 24 startups in Southeast Asia, and mostly not only in fintech, but the tech that related to the and could support the business unit under the bank. So including MarTech, RegTech, Property Tech, and including the fuel and Web3. Thank you.
Amazing, thank you. What about you, Toby?
Felix, hi, thanks. The CEO and co-founder of Coinweb, which is a layer 2 infrastructure play. We're a hybrid between a roll-up and a cross-chain communication system. Been building for the past 6 years, and only last week, I think I've just been shown the press release from CoinMarketCap. They've just released now that we're just launching a $10 million grant program, and we are allowing third-party developers to come in and build on top of us. To date, we've already built that in a permission state as proof of concept. So we built 2 payment platforms on top of us, which are responsible for about 0.5% of all the traffic hitting BNB chain on a daily basis today. We also were BMW Thailand's blockchain partner, so we built their cross-chain loyalty program for them, which we shipped to them. They haven't yet deployed. So that's it, really, in a nutshell.
That sounds amazing, and I like how you kind of got from ZK roll-ups and very abstract stuff to a BMW practical solution. I think that's what's sometimes missing in blockchain. With like these high buzzwords, nobody understands actually what we're doing, so I think it's all about the examples. Maybe let's start with something relatable. I just mentioned it. I mean, this is how, at least for me, and I guess the whole narrative of cryptocurrency started was payment, to say, hey, we have Bitcoin, you can do peer-to-peer payment, right? A peer-to-peer payment system was a whole narrative of it. I felt there has been a lot of development. I have mentioned it before, I didn't introduce myself, I'm the co-founder of Dash Next. Dash was one of the first cryptocurrencies out there. It was the first Bitcoin fork, the first DAO in the world, started in 2014. And Dash's core concept was actually to say, Bitcoin is too slow and it's too expensive, right? That was like, I mean, just imagine a world where there were no other coins than Bitcoin. So that was something that worked very well, to say, hey, Bitcoin is too slow, Bitcoin is too expensive, which honestly it still is. So we started off saying, okay, we want to have a payment system that is fast and is really an alternative to the whole banking infrastructure, right? I mean, international transfers take, what, 14 days or something? So we built a system and said, okay, now we deployed, and we started off in Thailand by onboarding small noodle shops and merchants, and then went to PSP integrations and so on. So after that, I mean, we see people releasing crypto debit cards with partnering with Visa and so on. So I really would like to hear your thoughts on, where, like, how did it develop and what is next? I feel right now a lot of regulation is coming in, which makes it more and more difficult actually for cryptocurrencies to fulfill that dream that we had, in 2010 to 14, saying we are an alternative to payment systems. It seems it's gone. What do you think?
So let me scope in Thailand. So Toby and we can be going in a global scale. So basically, so we are in Bangkok. So basically, I think definitely Thailand is very a good initiative of digital asset and Web3. Definitely, I think during before the COVID, I think we discussed a lot of things on the mean of payment. And yet, that time there were a lot of the merchants, if you remember, they accepting the crypto for exchange. Even some of the department stores, even also is a buzzword at that time. If the merchant doesn't accept the crypto, digital asset, even stable coins or Bitcoin, then you wouldn't be in the innovation, retail, or something not adopting to these technologies. And where else? And at that time, the central bank, or we call Bank of Thailand at that time, understand that they will be fluctuate. They will worried about the Thai baht fluctuation in the future. If people some days using the crypto rather than the Thai baht, so that time all the coin has been stopped on the payment. So until now, I think what central banks are trying to push. So I think they believe on the Web3, they believe on digital asset, but we are trying to push on the CBDC. So in Thailand, it's already launched on the wholesale CBDCs between a few countries now to remit instantly. And then by Q3 this year, I think Krungsri also has been one of the banks that have been selected from central bank to be testing with our bank staff, for over 2,000 bank staff trying to use the CBDC within the banks, canteen, retails in around the bank, in areas, and then we did about for 3 months already. And now it went perfectly well, smooth, because the transaction is not that much. So and we see the opportunities a lot on the retail CBDC. Now, after the program, the pilot has been ended. I think people keep talking, when are we going to use the CBDCs after that? But now central banks still keep it on the pilot. And next year, probably we will see. But on the use cases on the CBDC that we are going to use, I think the government talk a lot on the digital wallet to giving 10,000 baht to Thai population. If you remember, this is a campaign for the government. And now we were talking, why not you use a CBDC rather than the new coin if you would like to use a digital wallet. That would be the example, because you can scope the merchant only on the white merchant list, or even the bank. Now we were thinking about CBDC. Normally when we lending for some purpose, lending, for example, maybe SME loan or supply chain loan. Whenever we remit the loan to customer, the SME, we cannot control them anymore. They can spend elsewhere. They can not in the business purposes. But now with the CBDC, we can control them. Only the white merchant list that they can spend. So we know exactly where the money goes in any places. So this is the purpose of our bank, that we will definitely adopt on the CBDC. But let's see when it will be. We think in about maybe not longer than 2 years, we can implement on this one.
Thank you. I mean, I'm a crypto nerd, so it somewhat sounds like a very horrible dystopian future that a bank knows everything what I do. Which, to be fair, they already know, huh? And it's just a matter of how much more data I will give them. So we will go into that in a second. Please tell me, how do you see kind of the whole evolution of crypto payments and like in the last decade?
Well, I think blockchain or blockchain being used for a global payment system hasn't been realized, because crypto is not a full end-to-end global payment system. Sure, you can have a wallet and you can transfer crypto anywhere in the world, and depending on what blockchain you're on, it can be relatively quick. Sometimes it can be expensive, sometimes it can be slow. But the problem comes that you can't fiat on an off-ramp anywhere in the world for that crypto. So it's absolutely fine if you're in Thailand and you're holding USDT and I want to send it to my mum in the UK. She may have problems turning that USDT into pound sterling. And actually, then the next challenge is, even if she can and she's signed up to an exchange, can she then withdraw it into her HSBC bank account? But I'll tell you what, if you do that more than 3 or 4 times and the amounts are high enough that you are receiving money from Binance, well, Binance doesn't operate in the UK, but a licensed exchange, and you try and withdraw that into a typical high street personal bank account, they will close your bank account down. So these sorts of pain points, Felix, to answer your question, are holding the industry back. The banks feel threatened by it. All of the press you get picked up on at the moment is, $500 of money was transferred to Hamas accounts within the Binance network, and now Binance have been complicit in terrorism financing, and trillions of dollars moved. So there's a key focus from the press to beat them up. I'm sure the bank's PR companies are involved in that, whipping up that support because they see it as a threat. But at the same time, slowly you're beginning to see regulatory frameworks being rolled out that actually then support those banks, or force those banks almost, in having to fiat on and off ramp that then enables blockchain crypto to be delivered for what it was originally intended for, which was the premise of your question. But until that's harmonized all around the world and it isn't localized, we aren't going to see that real breakthrough using blockchain as a payment system. And my quick example is the UAE. Fantastic regulatory frameworks have been built up from scratch effectively, and then the banks have almost been forced to work within that regulatory framework. On the flip side of that, Thailand has set out a regulatory framework that's trying to shoehorn and fit this technology into the existing financial regulatory framework, and you have gaps in it as a result. And then you have somewhere like Malta that can't wait to hand out licenses like confetti, and there isn't a single bank on the island that would support any of them. See what I'm going to...
I love your view on that and kind of the whole granularity that you go into it, and I have to agree. I mean, I was, half kidding, I would say, that it's a dystopian future. And of course, I come from this crypto world, and for me it was the exciting part to be, beyond the system and you can do stuff. But the truth is it has a lot of downsides, right? It has the downsides, even for me personally, being this crypto cowboy, to say, I'm using this with a connection to my bank account, I block myself. I'm not going into a bank account. I always risk my money being hacked by, me having it on own custody, on self-custody, because nobody's giving me the money back, right? There's no regulations, there's a lot of scams, there's a lot of hacks going on. So this is somewhat all the downsides. And in that sense, governments and the whole banking regulation seeing I'm protecting your bank account, I make sure, it's vetted, I make sure there's security systems in place, I make sure there is consumer protection in place. All these things are, valid, and also the truth I've realized is most people just don't care. I mean, they want to have peace of mind by not having to self-custody their finance and risk the money. And frankly, I mean, once you have been hacked, this feeling that, man, it's like, I wish I would have put it on the bank. So there's still this big gap, right? But then there comes the granularity and say, is it all about, taxes? Will it really solve the problems? Because on the flip side, what I've realized, I mean, we were running companies super internationally in a super decentralized way. I couldn't have done it in the normal payment rails, meaning I hire somebody from Nigeria because they have amazing content writers. How can I pay this guy? It's like, try to do a bank transfer to Nigeria. So my question to you is, will this really change with CBDCs? Let's assume Thailand now has a CBDC. Can I hire this guy from Nigeria and pay him? Or do I still have the same problems like I have now doing it with a bank account?
I totally believe that the CBDC, just only in Thailand, cannot resolve that issue yet. Until I think every country, the related country that we are working with has to use the CBDC the same. So it does not have to be CBDC. but it either can be a wallet stablecoin of that country, or any that the government back on that coins or token. So whenever it can be trust each other, and even if you have the bank to be behind, basically everyone says that the bank is more trusted sources, but not always, right? But if it can be, then it can be easily to make you more trust to transfer the money from one country to Nigeria. If Nigeria has part of some CBDCs at the back of the with the bank, some collaboration or integration with the banks, then it can be helped on that one. So that's what I believe on this.
Will it be instant?
Instantly?
Will the payments be instant, and will we change? Will this whole infrastructure be instant in terms
definitely,
of settlement?
Definitely. I think we were talking a lot. We were working a lot with Ripple in, I think, since 5 years, 6 years back. Since I joined in fintech world, I think we started with working with Ripple on the cross-border remittance, and then we were the very first bank to pilot the Ripple network, and definitely that time it used not the XRP, the Ripple yet, but until now, yes, that time still very less. Banks are using that one. It doesn't have the multiple network yet. So you cannot remit from Krungsri to a HSBC in UK. If HSBC UK not using Ripple, go need to find the participants who are using Ripple themselves. And yet, until now, when we see that we want money to be remitted instantly and cheaper in a better cost than what are we using comparing to SWIFT. So anything that it can be happen, then we go and work with them. So we think that one day our customers or any people in Thailand, you can remit cheaper than what we have to pay now. Now it can a lot of cheaper now, 5 times cheaper than in the old days, but not in the fully on the blockchain yet. But in the future, we can go on a cheaper way and faster.
Yeah, I like what you say. It's actually a great transition to the next questions. I mean, let's be honest. It's not hard to build something better than Swift, which frankly goes for most kind of legacy systems in the world that were, built in the internet or the pre-internet of the 80s, transitioned to become an internet solution and to be out of date decades ago, right? So now I've worked in innovation for banks for a long time, and the truth is everybody is building on SAP core banking systems built in the 80s, right? I mean, just let that shit go, please. We will have a better and more efficient world. So what I would like to know from you, Toby, is like you're building on an L2 is what I understand. I mean, the truth is there's like how many blockchains out there right now? Everybody is kind of making their own thing. I think it's very confusing for people, and obviously when I talk to banks and to industrial partners, there's one question that always comes up, like what tech stack should I use and why should I use this and not that? Kind of, do you have any, like how would you guide your partners into this complexity of blockchain solutions?
I think they need to have a very firm understanding of blockchain and really at a high level and what the benefits of it are, and make a decision on whether or not that they want to use it at that point in time. And I think that's where it should stop. Right there, just stop. I'm not going to sit down with you for 3 weeks and run through what the benefits of Polygon over Multiverse X are, and then look at what the uptime and the downtimes were and the gas fee fluctuations were, so you can start to try and judge whether or not that was the right chain, or is this the right chain, and what happens if I get stuck on that chain. My mother lives in India. I spoke with her just before I came here. It was our monthly conversation. And whilst I'm on the phone to her, being a telco guy of 15 years before I got dragged down the blockchain rabbit hole, I can tell you that when I was speaking to her on the phone, I'm ashamed to say for about 8 minutes, that phone call would have jumped over no less than 10 different routes while we're speaking. Neither her nor I had any idea that we're jumping across these different voice routes. all the way down these calls are switching systems that are monitoring the quality of the call and the price of the call. And if the quality drops somewhat, or there's a price fluctuation because it's like a real-time marketplace, the switching systems are jumping my call across to the next one so they can effectively maximize their margin. So what we've done, and what we think the future will be, because we won't be the only ones, we are at the moment, but we won't be for long, is to monitor the underlying KPIs of the chains that we sit on top of, to answer your question, predominantly focused around gas fee prices, network outages, network speed times, catastrophic failures. And if you're a bank, you don't need to choose one particular network or start digging down into it too far past the concept, do we want to use blockchain because does it have more benefits than our legacy systems? And if the answer is yes, then you need to build applications on top of it and do integrations that can seamlessly route between the chains based upon their KPIs, not something that you want to hear as the founder of Layer 1. And I see a lot of you guys there in the front spitting blood round about now, maximalists. If you have a customer, they shouldn't need to know that they are using blockchain technology. It should be under the hood, giving them cost savings and other benefits on speed and everything else, replacing the legacy systems that you're referring to. But that has to be a sustainable system that shouldn't just have to rely upon one particular blockchain, because I'm sure you're aware they go wrong. Luna. Terry, excuse me.
100%, Toby. I gotta agree with everything. It's exactly the opposite. I'm really not opposing anything, because what I've realized very in the early days, even in kind of 2015 onboarding a merchant, they don't care for my passion about being your own bank and, you know, saying, hey, it's like, this is decentralized. They're like, decentralized, what? It's about, you know, what really helped us onboarding these customers was a simple argument to say, look, I have this payment solution, it's free, and if you use it, I'm helping you to bring customers into your restaurant. And that's what we did by doing meetups there. So what they really cared for was this 100 extra people coming every Wednesday to talk something they don't care about. You know, I think this is where we are exactly today. So it's really not about the tech, and I agree. I see the future of Web3 is going into this kind of inter-blockchain.
Can I just add to that? And this is really an interesting one. It's I never forget about, it must have been 15 years ago. I used to live in London. I was in London. There was this dinner with all these guys, and they were from everywhere, especially the States. There's been 20 of us, and it was an AI dinner. I had no idea. I understand what artificial intelligence was at the time at a high level. And we were sitting at this dinner going, this is the future. And everybody was there at the dinner going, I kind of really vaguely understand it, we don't really get it. Must say, a bit short, about 12 years ago. And then these guys all kind of disappeared into obscurity. They all raised quite a lot of money at the time, and everyone's like, was that real? Did we burn ourselves, out, and so on and so forth. And only when a real use case, GPT came out, did everyone go, oh wow, AI is it. This is real. And I think where we are today is not 12, 15 years ago in blockchain terms, but maybe we're 5 years away from real use case that see the kind of adoption that we've only just seen drop in AI. And it's going to be at that point in time where there'll be a killer app that comes along, which everybody starts to begin to use, and they go, okay, this is real, and it's fulfilling a promise where the industry was before. And up until that point, we're going to have the press ripping us to pieces, and people saying this is a scam, and there are rug pulls and bad actors, which I'm sure not to the same extent, but I'm sure there were in AI as well at the same time. And it's about the builders that are going to see that, get their heads down, stick through it, go through these bull and bear markets, and get to that point where that application gets delivered that I don't believe that we are seeing today, or nor have we got anywhere close to seeing.
Yeah, I agree. I also don't think it's about CBDCs versus self-custody and crazy coins. It's about applications, right? And this is why I said, the first thing I would care about is, like, is my money going to my mom in India or my mom in Germany, not in 2 weeks, but why can it not be there in 10 seconds? I know it can be if I'm using Polygon or whatever. So this is the reference now, right? So I think this is how we kind of get from nerd to mass adoption is by solution. So my question to you is like, we are seeing the payment use case, that's obvious. So okay, we're cutting the time down, you already mentioned like how we make that. But obviously with DeFi and everything, there's many use cases way beyond that. You mentioned kind of loan taking. I would imagine like a loan process could be cut down from 2 weeks processing time to 30 seconds auto approval. The same could be done for stock market trading, options trading, interest rates, staking, switching from order books to liquidity pools. So what you guys have in the pipeline right now that you would say is exciting and is kind of transitioning this nerd to mass market?
So firstly, I think I totally agree with Toby on that. I really like when you mentioned about the phone call, the international phone call. And then this is exactly what are we waiting blockchain to be get into the real use case of that. What are we doing right now? So we are believing. So I think all the top banks now we are talking about. We are not. We already moved from traditional banking to be digital banking now. I think most of the top Thai banks now are already in there. We're using heavily on mobile banking. But what we are looking in the future, we are planning maybe about in 3 years' time, but we're not sure how far is that. But we want to move from digital banking to be blockchain-based banking. That means that the blockchain can be helping basically increasing the productivity for the bank. That means that we can reduce the operation cost to make it more profit, but using the blockchain as a layer. For example, remittance is one of the case. Second thing that you mentioned about the lending one, we see that on the DeFi we can borrow, matching between borrower and lender within a few seconds. But how can when we using about when we grant any loan for SME loan, for example, right now I think we take about 2 to 4 weeks, maybe over than a month. We use over than 100 people within one case to see on that case until at the end until remitting the money to the borrowers. How can we reduce those people into the blockchain where we use the automated one, including the AI, to be understand the customer and real-time decision making. So that's what we are planning and see that how can blockchain can be helping on this product and services. And basically, not only for the productivity, and how can we have a sexier product for our customers? For example, we invested in, I mentioned to Toby, we invested in ADEX in Singapore. So ADEX is the tokenizing the closed-end fund. So normally you cannot purchase, invest in the closed-end fund in the maturity date. They only can invest in the IPO date. So, but someone want to liquidate and someone want to invest. So they basically tokenize the closed-end fund, and then people can get invest in the secondary on the tokenized one. So that one is part of the more sexier product for our high net worth customer to be investing. Or maybe in the future interest rate can be staking or something. The normal product can apply with the digital asset to be offering to our high net worth customer. So that's what I think we are, especially the Krungsri, and also under the Mitsubishi Financial Group, are planning to see for the future that what we can be offering the new product to customers as well as increasing the productivities using the blockchain.
Thank you. I totally understand. And I have to say one thing. I mean, I guess the best reference of all, you mentioned it, is ask your mom if she understands it. Probably you're on the right way to go to mass adoption. And I have personally struggled with that for the last decade. She was rather asking me like, boy, don't go to prison, be careful. So, now came AI, the first time she really understood immediately kind of what I'm trying to do.
She must have been really relieved you weren't going to prison.
she is happy I'm digging more into AI than Web3 these days, I guess. So always ask yourself, what would your mom say? You know, these are my last words. Do you have anything to add about the future of payments?
I'm absolutely convinced, otherwise I wouldn't be here today, that just at a base level, taking a network that is safe and secure and using that to replace legacy networks like SWIFT, $30 and up to 48 hours to make a transfer, as long as we can get over this regulatory blast that we're getting at the moment being led by the US, and which gives the confidence in turn for the institutions to start replacing the likes of SWIFT, open banking, faster payments, you know, SEPA, all of this sort of stuff with these new networks. And I think that will come. I'm a great believer in it. I actually believe that this will be the future of payments and other, and in the coming 5 years.
For me, I think we still believe in blockchain, but how can we turn blockchain into the real cases where there are a lot of users are waiting for? I think how can you apply into the real finance? I think people are still waiting for lending, people are still waiting for remitting. I think there are a lot of pain points. What you said, that it takes time, it's very expensive, how can you make it cheaper, how can you make it instantly? So that what, if you could make the blockchain into the real cases, then I definitely that your product or your service can be go to unicorn easily. That's what we believe in. I think and even the bank will be supporting on this one, because this is the pain point for the bank as well. If you work together with the bank who has plenty of customers waiting, then I think definitely you will earn a lot on this one. Yeah.
Amazing. Tom, Toby, let's work together. You guys are awesome. Thank you for sharing your insights, and thank you for listening, guys.
Thank you.
A round of applause for